Hey, this is Dan here at Studio Blue. This is Pilates All Levels. Optional props, mini band if you have it, a TheraBand would work as well. Mini ball if you have it. If you don't, a pillow or like a bed pillow folded up would work, or all this can be done without. So we're gonna get started on hands and knees. Have your props just somewhere towards your hands, kind of towards the front of the mat, wherever that may be. And then spread your fingers a good amount, knees under hips, hands under shoulders. And just start by rounding the spine and hold in that position. So let your chin drop, let your shoulder blades widen. Put some weight through your shins and the tops of the feet. And start to feel your stomach lifting up. And then keep that sense of your belly lifting. And as you inhale, start to open the chest. And start to extend the spine. So low back, middle back, upper back, even the neck. Eyes coming forward, shoulders glide down. Yeah. And just hold here for a couple of breaths. So feeling some extension in your spine, right? And then again, round. Curling tail, try to relax your glutes. Lift up through your waistline, separate your shoulders. Relax your jaw. And then again, open the chest, glide the shoulders down. And just hold into this extension. So just for a different view, right? So the whole spine, trying to find some movement. And then find the place in the middle of those two extremes. Look to your right, wag your tail to the right. So it's a pretty gentle side bend. And then inhale, come to center, and then look to the left and wag your tail to the left. And if you imagine that all 4 points, your hands and your knees, right, you could create a wall or kind of a box around you. As you sway or as you side bend from side to side, try not to go outside that box. So you're kind of within the realm of those 4 points. You're going to feel one side of your waist starting to contract a little bit. Yeah. And you're going to start to feel the other side of your waist getting a stretch. And just one more like that on each side. So starting to get the ribs to move and wake up. And then find your center, feet together, knees open, push back, child's pose. Arms reach out in front of you, head heavy. And you can always lay your hands under your forehead if that feels more comfortable on your neck. But hold here, take a couple breaths. Any kind of breath you want. Yoga breath, Pilates breath. Just big inhale, big exhale. And notice how this feels in the beginning of the hour. And then as you breathe in, start to breathe into the side and back of your ribs. Allow your belly to expand, not necessarily just into your thighs, but more into the back of the ribs. And then as you exhale, feel your waistline drawing up away from your thighs, away from the mat, the t-shirt. And just take one more big breath like that, in through the nose. Ribs expand. Exhale through the mouth with a little bit more force and feel your low abs start to draw in, your pelvic floor. Just generally your waistline drawing in away from your shirt. And then on your next breath, roll yourself up. We're gonna make our way onto our back. Have your props with you. So if you have a mini ball, place it in between your knees. So your feet are ball distance. They're definitely separated a little bit. And then allow your arms to rest by your side. And if you don't have a ball, no worries, just have your feet hip distance. And as you exhale, curl your tail, let your low back flatten, and slowly start to peel your pelvis up to the sky. So one vertebra at a time. Feel like your knees are stretching forward, and feel like your heels are pressing down into the ground. Hold at the top, take a breath in. And then as you exhale, slowly start to roll down upper spine, middle spine, all the way through your lower back, and then let your pelvis open to neutral so the tail is heavy and there's a little bit of space underneath your lower back. And just keep going at your own time and your own pace. So curling the tailbone, allowing the pelvis to roll, the hips lift, and start to feel that the back of the glutes are turning on as you lift to the top of your bridge. And again, just your time, your pace. And at the top of these bridges, you want to think of shoulders, hips, and knees just being kind of one long diagonal line. So the rib cage is pretty neutral, the back line is pretty neutral. And then check in that you have pretty even weight through your feet. So the heels, the first balls of the feet, and the last balls of the feet. Yeah. And then for Ronnie, feel your toes turn in just slightly to parallel. Yeah, there you go. A little weight through the first balls of the feet. Yeah. And then for Joe, take the feet just a little bit wider. Yeah, nice. Awesome. Good. The next time that you roll up to your bridge, hold at the top of that bridge. And again, feel some weight even through the feet. First ball, last ball, center of the heel, and even feel that there's some energy in your arches, that there's a little bit of lift. Give your prop a little squeeze if you have one. A block would work well on this as well, or a pillow. And just keep that squeeze. Feel your inner thighs starting to turn on. Feel the rib cage is drawing down a little bit as your hips are lifting up. So the front of the hips are opening, the back of the glutes get to turn on. And then take your arms up to the sky. Palms will face forward towards your knees. And as you exhale, start to roll down. As you roll down, reach your arms overhead. So the underside of the armpit and the chest starts to stretch open. And then just roll all the way down. Tailbone touches the ground, hands together behind your head. And then elbows will lift up into your peripheral vision. Give your prop a little squeeze and then nod your chin, curl the head and the chest up. All right, so first one after Thanksgiving. All right, so just see how this feels. No judgment, just notice. On your next breath, lower the chest and the head down. All right, give your prop a little squeeze, pelvis neutral, right? So a little bit of space under the lower back. And as you curl up, you're trying to keep the pelvis and the lower back pretty stable, pretty still, right? Inhale to lower and exhale to lift. So initially on this, right, you might come just off your shoulder blades. If you're not quite there yet, all good. Just feel that you're moving from your upper spine. Your abs are starting to turn on a little bit. Your lower back feels stable and your head feels really supported. So two things in this class and any class really, anywhere you take, make sure your neck, your joints, and your lower back always feel good. If they don't, you can always peel it back or it's okay to take a break. So next time you curl up, hold at the top of your curl, fully clasp your hands together, right? So your head's supported, and then let your elbows open slightly and just notice how the shoulder blades kind of pull together a little, and then narrow your elbows and notice how the shoulder blades widen. So keep them a little narrow, and then take a big inhale through your nose. Exhale, maybe curl up a little higher off the shoulders. Yep. And then inhale, lower all the way down again. Keep the elbows as they are and then nod the chin slightly. Exhale, curl, head and chest up. Give that prop a little squeeze. And again, inhale, lower down. And just a couple more like this. And again, right? We might be off our shoulders, we might not. Either way, A-okay for now. Next time you curl up, hold at the top of your curl. So the head is really supported. Take an inhale as you exhale, curl the tailbone under slightly. So you feel your lower back flattening a little bit to the floor, using your abs. Try to keep your butt relaxed. And then inhale, let your pelvis open back to neutral. So it's going to feel like your tail dropped and your lower back kind of has a little bit of space. So again, curl the tail. Your back might completely touch the ground. It might not. Just depends on the way your joints are set up. Inhale to open. One more, exhale to curl. So you should feel like your lower abs are kind of meeting your middle and your upper abs. Inhale to neutral, lower the chest halfway down. And this time as you exhale, curl up and reach your left arm past your right thigh. So you have a little bit of twist through your upper spine. Inhale, hand to the head, lower halfway. Give that ball or prop a little squeeze. Exhale, right hand past left thigh. Inhale back to center, about halfway down, and just continue, right? And that reach of the arm, if your upper back is feeling tight at all, it's gonna help just give you a little more lift and a little bit more movement in that upper spine, right? And as you're twisting, right, the upper body is trying to move and twist, the lower body, the lower back, and the pelvis, you're trying to stay pretty still. And you'll find a lot of Pilates is move one thing while maybe something else is staying stable, right? So the pelvis is really stable. We're trying to move through the upper spine, right? Now keep using your breath. So your breath, right, it brings oxygen into our cells, which is a good thing. It also helps create a little bit more abdominal work and oblique work with a little bit of force through that exhale. I might hear it, I might not, but as long as you hear it, we're good. Take one more to your left. Once you finish your left side, lower the head and the chest all the way down. And then walk your feet towards you. If you want to take this up a level, imprint, right? Flatten your lower spine. Legs or feet rather, pretty close. You're going to float the legs up to tabletop. If you have that prop, give it a squeeze. Exhale again, curl the head and the chest up. And then inhale, lower the head and the chest down, keeping the pelvis, the lower back, and the legs completely still. And again, nodding the chin, curling up, lowering down with control. Yeah, so keep going with this one. And then feel that gravity is kind of taking the weight of your thigh bones into your hips. So the hips don't really have to do too much work here. You feel the lower abdomen stabilizing, pelvic floor, a little bit of squeeze. We'll get those inner thighs to turn on. Are we feeling our abs yet? Yay. Feels good after Thanksgiving. One more. So we curl up, hold at the top. As you inhale, grab the back of your thighs. Now use your arms, and as you exhale, just kind of wiggle yourself up off your shoulders a little bit. So if there's any kind of lingering tension in your upper back, right, use your arms to help. Now hold, keep completely still. Take a big inhale. Squeeze your prop, exhale, hands together behind your head slowly. You should feel your abs start to kick in there. And then on your next breath, lower the chest and the head, keeping the legs pretty still. And again, we'll exhale, curl the head and the chest up. Inhale, grab your thighs. Exhale, maybe just curl up a little higher. Feel that the breastbone is sinking. We're just off the shoulder blades. On your next breath out, slowly bring the hands back to the head without lowering the head. And again, on your next breath, lower down. You should feel your abs working to slowly bring you down. One more. Inhale. Exhale, curl up. Inhale, grab your thighs. Exhale, lift a little higher, right? Your shoulders stay soft, elbows pretty wide. On your next breath out, maybe you go a little wider, go a little slower as your hands come back. You should feel all the abs having to work to keep you here. And then on your next breath out, stay right where you're at. Just squeeze your prop. Feel your stomach drawn away from your t-shirt. Inhale, breathe wide into the back and side of your ribs. And again, exhale, just give that prop a little squeeze. Inhale, breathe wide, relax the head. Exhale, little squeeze, elbows lifting to the sky. And then on your next breath out, lower down, take the knees into your chest. Take that prop off to the side, and then let your knees and your feet open. And just take a little rock of the hips from side to side. Nicely done. We should be starting to feel a little bit of warmth. Okie dokie. And then settle the feet down to the ground, knees bent, feet flat. All right. So if you have a prop or a ball, so where your feet are about hip distance, you can take your ball under the center of your right foot. Again, a pillow would work on this, a block would work on this, or nothing at all is fine. So this ball is going to add a little bit of instability, and we're not really going to put too much weight into it. Most of the weight is going to be through our left leg. So hands are on the hip bones, make sure they're pretty even. Set your stomach, so feel your tummy drawn a little, and then exhale. Press into your left leg, start to lift the hips to the sky, right? My right foot is on the ball, but there isn't too much weight on it. And come up just as high as it feels comfortable on your back. You want to make sure you're not overly arched, you're not overly rounded. And just hold here for a moment. If you don't have a prop at home, you could also do this with just your right toe on the ground and your heel lifted. Same idea. Now hinging through both hips, but really that left hip, we're going to drop the pelvis back down towards the ground, trying to stay pretty neutral. So not overly rounded, not overly arched. Exhale, push into that left leg, lift the pelvis up evenly. And then inhale, hinge into the hips and lower back down. And as you do this, you want to feel that your core, your obliques, your deep abs, they're helping to keep all of that space in between your pelvis and rib cage connected, right? So as you go up and down, the majority of the work is going to be in the left glutes, hamstrings. Yeah, and at any point, arms can always come by your side once you kind of get a sense of where you're at on this. Yeah, and then Victoria, yeah, feel that left heel really rooting down and that first ball of the foot. Yep, you got it. So the next time that you lift up, pause at the top. And again, feel that connection through the front of the rib cage. You're not overly arched or popped, right? Feel the leg on the ground, right? That leg's definitely working. And then on an exhale breath, the foot that's on a ball, can you push down into a little bit and feel the back of your hamstrings? And then relax a little bit and feel more of your standing leg. And as you push into that prop, you'll notice you don't need a lot of effort to feel the back of the leg muscles turn on, right? And your body, your leg is going to want to push the ball away. Try not to push it away, but think of pressing straight down through the center of your arch. Yep. Everybody feeling that? Okay. It's a lot, yeah. So there's definitely a little bit of instability there, right? You don't need a lot of pressure, but it's going to really wake up the back of your thigh. Last two. Yep. Last one. And then feel equal weight through both feet, roll down, upper back, middle back, lower back. And then extend your right leg out. So if you have that prop, it's going to go right underneath your right ankle. And again, if you don't, you just send your right leg down to the ground. The ball is just going to provide some instability. And then your left leg is going to float up to tabletop. Now, because we have this right leg on the ground, neutral would be fine on this. So tail heavy, a little bit of space to the lower back or an imprint. Hands together behind the head. All right, and then lift your head and chest up to start. And then look at your left knee. And as you exhale, take your right shoulder blade and lift it up maybe 1 to 2 inches and keep looking at that knee. And then as you inhale, lower that right shoulder blade down a couple inches. Now, same thing, same side. Exhale, small twist, right shoulder blade lifts. Inhale, take it down slowly. And as you're twisting to the left, I want you to think of left lower ribs and upper right ribs helping to rotate you. The leg on the ground, think of reaching that heel not only down, but a little bit away from you. So there's some length in the front of the hip. Yeah, and just notice, right, this isn't a huge motion. If your pelvis is starting to roll off the ground, you've gone too far. So make it a little smaller. And just keep thinking, right? Upper ribs are trying to connect down to the opposite side of your pelvis. Good. Last one like this, hold your rotation, right? Make sure there's equal weight in both hips. Take another breath in. And as you exhale, take that outside elbow, take that left elbow and reach it up to the sky a little bit higher so you feel hopefully both shoulder blades come off the ground. Take one extra breath and then lower everything down. Nicely done. Settle the feet to the ground. If you have a prop, take it under your left foot to set up for bridge round 2. So knees bent, right? And your left knee will definitely be higher than the right if you have a prop. Hips are square. Tummy in. Exhale, press into the majority of the weight's in this right leg now. We're going to lift the pelvis to the sky. So my hips are still level, waistline's in. And if you feel any lower back tension on this, just drop the hips down a little bit and make sure you're not overly arched. And then hinging through both hips, primarily through the right, we're going to drop down as we inhale. Set the stomach, push into that right leg, and then lift back up. So as you lift, if you feel the back of the glutes, feel the back of the pelvis, you should feel a good amount of tone in the back of that right glute. Right? And you'll notice the left leg might get a little wobbly, right? It's there as like a gesture leg, it's a supporting leg, but it's definitely not doing all the work. And you might notice on one side it feels more wobbly than the other, right? Again, just make sure your abs are set, your core is set, and that the hinging isn't coming through your lower back, right? It's not shearing your lower back to find the hip extension, but it's coming from your pelvis, from your hip. Yeah. Now, if you want to add on, the next time you lift up, pause. So right now, the majority of the weight is in your right foot, the foot on the ground. As you exhale, maybe just push a little bit into that ball or prop, whatever it may be, and then let it lift and lower. Let it release and then push. Sorry, that was a bad cue. Keep the hips lifted. Exhale, push just a little bit into your prop and then release just a little bit. No prop, no problem. You can do this with the heel lift and lower, all good. But the idea is as you push down into that left leg, you're going to start to feel the back of that leg turn on a little bit more. And you want to absorb some of that energy into your core, into the back of the thighs. Yep. Last one. Even weight through both feet. Exhale, roll down through your spine, one vertebra at a time. And then straighten that left leg out, right? If you have a prop, it's about underneath your ankle. right? Flex that bottom foot, reach through the heel, and then float your right leg up tabletop. Make sure the hips are pretty level to the ground, low tummy in, hands behind the head. Exhale, curl the head and the chest up to start. Now look at your right knee. And then as you exhale, lift your left shoulder blade up, maybe 1 to 2 inches. Keep an eye on that knee. Inhale, take it back down. Big exhale. And big inhale. Yeah. And maybe even close your eyes and just notice, right, where do you feel the movement coming from? So the lower core is set, and then that rotation's coming from the obliques, from the ribs, right? And just have that sense of that leg that's on the ground, right? That left leg, the heel is rooting down and it's reaching a little bit away. And then maybe for the next couple, try to make the movement a little smaller and just notice if anything changes in the sensation. Now check that the pelvis isn't overly tucked, right? The tailbone isn't kind of curling off the ground. And then the next time that you curl, hold your curl, keep an eye on your knee, and then take that right elbow and lift it up to the sky. So both shoulders start to come up off the ground a little bit. Yeah, nice. Hold there for an extra breath, and then lower everything down. Hug both knees into your chest. Awesome. And just give the back of the spine a little bit of a release. Maybe rock the hips from side to side. Lovely. And then settle the feet down to the ground. Take your ball off to the side or prop, whatever it may be. And then feet inner hip distance, arms rest by your side. Curl the tail, roll up, no props needed, just roll up into your bridge. And then feel like the knees were tractioning forward, so reaching over your toes. Feel the back of the glutes turn on, front of the ribs heavy. Now keep some weight in your left leg as you exhale. Can you float your right heel or your whole right leg tabletop? So knee over hip, about 90 degrees. And then lower that foot down to the ground, put some weight in it. And then exhale, the left leg floats up tabletop. Yep. And then lower it down. And just keep alternating. So keep marching from side to side. And right now, all that space in between your ribs and your pelvis, that's all stabilizing you. So the side of your core, the front of your core, the back of your core. And then the leg that you're standing on, right? Do we feel our butt on that leg? So glutes are on, hamstrings are on. Now check in that the knees aren't starting to sway out or knock in, but you're keeping kind of this like train track alignment. So knee, second toe, inner hip, everything's just in a really nice alignment. The next time your right leg floats up, keep it there. Again, feel the front of the ribs drop just slightly. Right leg is up. Now as you inhale, tap your right heel to the ground. Inhale, lift it up and stay on that side. Exhale, tap it down. So now that left leg, that standing leg, you're starting to work on some endurance. All right, so we've just leveled it up a little bit. Again, check in, deep core muscles are on. If you have any spots, right, and we all usually have some kind of spot on our body, make sure it feels stable. The next time that right foot goes down, keep it there, right? So both feet are on the ground. Take a breath. Opposite leg floats up. And then with that left leg, inhale, tap it down. Exhale, float it up. Yeah. And again, core muscles are stabilizing. Glutes on that standing leg, hamstrings on that standing leg are stabilizing. And we're working on the endurance on that leg. Last 3, 2. And the next time both feet are on the ground, keep them there. Take a breath. Exhale, roll down slowly. Hug the knees into the body as you come down. Lovely. Grab the back of your thighs with your hands. Nod your chin, push your legs into the arms and roll yourself up to seated. So somewhere kind of at the top of your mat, if you have a prop, place it in between your knees, right? If there's anything going on with your lower back, just be mindful of this one, that it feels good. So the prop, we're gonna squeeze it lightly, hands behind the thighs, and we're gonna lift fairly tall. Right now, you don't have to be completely, stacked like a board. If it feels nicer to kind of roll back a little bit on the hips or the thighs, go for it. So give your ball a little squeeze, find your deep low abs. And then as you exhale, start to curl your pelvis underneath you so the lower back rounds a little, right? Hold there. My arms are catching me, my feet are on the ground. And then on your next breath, roll forward and just restack, low back, middle back, upper back. We'll just do one more like this. Curl the tail, roll back, shoulders relaxed, hold here. Give that ball a little squeeze, right? So your belly set, if it feels more comfortable to have your back a little flatter, A-okay. But on your next breath out, see if you can take your right hand to your chest, but I want you to feel the front of your ribs and core, right? Bring that hand back to the thigh and then exhale, little squeeze, left hand to the chest, and then bring it back. So keep going with this. Little squeeze, inner thighs, deep hip, deep abs, right? Keep breathing, relax the shoulders. One more each side. So this one's kind of a sneaky one, maybe not so sneaky. I usually feel this pretty quickly. Both hands, right? Once you finish that left side, roll forward, right? Restack. Good. Holding here, one more round. We curl the tail, a little squeeze into the ball, right? So my pelvis is rolled under slightly. Maybe it feels better to find some more length and extend the back. That's okay. On your next breath out, maybe one arm at a time comes forward, right? So we've just progressed it. On your next exhale, right hand to the chest. Inhale it forward. Little squeeze, exhale, left hand to the chest. So you want to feel this not only at the front of your waistline, but also the side of your waistline. A little bit of back extensors are working here. We've just peeled it up. So again, if it starts to go back, or rather if it starts to go into your lower back, or it feels just a little, weird, you can always peel it back. One more at the left arm. Yeah, and then both arms forward. Grab your shins, sit tall, take your prop off to the side, butterfly your knees open. Yeah, so it's definitely hip stability, core stability. Fold it forward. Nice. Everybody feel that? Yes. All right. It's a good one. Just a couple breaths here. Allow the hips to open. Yeah, and just notice if one leg is higher than the other. See if you can breathe into the side that might feel a little tighter, just different. We're not forcing it, just try to breathe into it. And then restack, sit tall. And then last thing we'll do here, so you can have your legs out a little bit straighter. So there's still a bit of a bend in the knees. And we're gonna go into some roll down. So I'm gonna start with half roll down and we can always go into full roll down. If you know you like something behind your back, you can use it. A band around your feet. If you're not sure, we'll find out pretty soon, right? So your arms will go forward. We'll sit tall again. Shoulders just kind of relax, right? We'll curl the tail. So the pelvis starts the motion, the lower back follows. And you might find you just want to roll back to where, right about here. My feet are grounded. I feel my core. And then I roll back forward. And then I restack. Another version, we curl the tail, feet stay kind of relaxed. I'm going to roll all the way through pelvis, low back, middle back, upper back, head. Inhale, arms, head, and chest. Exhale, not only from my abs, but from deep hips, pelvis rolling, nice. Rolling on the thighs, we come forward, restack, sit tall. And again, curl, roll back. Yep. So now your abs and your hips are working, right, eccentrically as they're lengthening you down, good. And then arms, head, chest. Yes, nice. One more like this. Good. Good. So feet are rooted. Last one. Roll it down slowly. Yep. Yeah, really good. Stay easy in the shoulders. Roll it back slowly. And this time as you roll down, just stay all the way down on your back. Yep. Good. Yeah, and the next time you're down, just reach your arms overhead for a moment. Let your legs completely relax. Just completely let your body go. Take a couple of breaths into your stomach. Yeah, floppy feet. Yep, just relax for a moment. Feel good to kind of stretch out and lengthen out. Yep. And then roll off to one side. And actually, I guess we can come up to seated for this. We want to put the band on. So if you have a mini band, right, try to keep it pretty wide. So it's going to go up and over the knees on our thighs. And I find sometimes if you use your thumbs and just kind of wiggle it up and over it, you want to keep it wide so it doesn't kind of bunch up and cut off your circulation, because that wouldn't be fun, right? If you have a TheraBand, make sure your legs are together, tie it fairly tight. It will always loosen up when you come down, or no props at all, right? So Rudd, no props today on this one. So we're going to come onto a side facing me, any side you want. And If you have a prop, you might use it as a pillow, right? You can use your arm long, but wherever your head is, right, it's in line with the shoulders and the hips. Hips and shoulders are stacked, and you want your feet kind of just right behind your sit bones. Yeah, you can look at each other. All right, so top hand to your top hip. Let your top hip hike up a little bit, and you'll notice the waistline kind of shortens. And then reach this hip down slightly. So there's a sense of length in the top and a little bit of sense of lift from underneath. Feel the waistline draw in. Lift the top knee up and open, pause. So if you take your hand back to your hip, make sure your pelvis didn't roll backwards, but everything's stacked. And if you fan your fingers back and touch your glutes, make sure you feel some tone there. Now, depending on what feels better in your hip, you might have your heel and toes together, or heels together and my top toes will lift up. So wherever you feel more glute, is A-okay? Take that top leg down slowly. Try not to lose the tension in the band. And then exhale, lift, hold. So feel the tension just on the hold. Feel the glutes working as you control it down. All right, and again, feel the glutes working on the way up. So the range of motion on this is really dependent on you, right? The way your hip joint shaped, the way your thigh bone fits into it. And if you have too much tension and you can't get your leg up more than an inch, ditch the band, right? It means it's just too heavy. And just make sure, right, you feel your glutes working as your leg is going up and down. And if you think of the top heel pushing down as your leg goes up, notice if that gives you any different sensation in the side of your glutes. And I'm just gonna bring your feet back just a little. Yeah, right there is perfect, awesome. Yeah, and then find your posture where you're not overly arced, you're not overly rounded. So whatever your posture is, whatever your neutral is. So for me, I tend to be a kind of a rib popper and an archer. So I always have to think of softening my ribs in. But if you tend to be a little more rounded, you might have to think of opening the chest or lifting the breastbone to find your perfect placement. And that neutral alignment is just going to work our muscles more effectively, so we don't have to do like 1,000 of these, right? So the next time that you lift, hold at the top of that lift, right? So the thigh is up in the tension. Now the knee isn't going to move. I'm just going to lift my top foot up. So now my thigh, knee, and shin are about parallel to the ground. I'm going to push my leg a little bit backwards in space, keeping my knee bent. Make sure that the waistline's in. Now, as I exhale, I'm going to rotate my top leg in. So my foot is kicking to the sky, and then inhale back to center. Again, keep the tension. Exhale, rotate the thigh in. You should feel a different part of the glutes working. So deep in the side of the hip. Inhale back to center. So this is going to hit your internal rotators. Yep. And again, the range of motion on this is really different from person to person. Yeah, then Nancy, feel that leg push back just a little and keep the knee bent as you rotate. Yeah, there you go. Yep. Try not to extend the leg though. Keep it bent and just find that movement in the hip. Yeah, there it is. Yep. Does that feel different? Okay. Lovely. Yep. Yeah, nice. And then Aaron, feel the ribs drawing just a little bit. Yeah, exactly. Just feel a little bit of softening there. You got it. Last one. And then let everything rest and just kind of pat out the side of the glute, side of the hip. So if you haven't done these before, it'll usually burn out pretty quickly, right? They're kind of small, weird muscles. And we've put tension on them. So, right, they'll burn out. So we're gonna do one more thing here again, with the band or without. You have permission to always ditch this thing. So my hips are stacked, ribs are set, my top leg's gonna reach out. And you wanna make sure that top leg is in line with the whole body. Softly point the foot. And then I'm gonna reach my leg a little bit backwards in space. So the front of my hip starts to open. The center back of my glute is on, the side of my glutes are on, and now the back of my hamstrings are on. So holding here as you exhale, you're gonna lift that leg up just a couple inches higher than the pelvis, and then lower down to about hip height. And if you take your top hand to your hip, as your leg goes up, you wanna make sure the hip doesn't hike in towards you. And in parallel, right, we're in parallel. So as you lift, it's not gonna be a ton of range, right? If you turned out, you'd have more range, but we're just gonna stay parallel on this today. So again, working kind of a weird, deep kind of side of the hip, right? So deep glutes, waistline still connected. Yep. Last two. Last one. Hold at the top, take a breath. And then lower everything down again. Just kind of pad out that leg a little bit. Now, keeping the knees where they're at, take both hands behind your head. Yeah, so your head's pretty supported. The top elbow is going to lift towards the sky, and then my head and my ribs are going to start to rotate back. And you want to feel that most of the movement here is in your upper spine and your middle spine. And I'm going to say hips fairly stacked. So if it feels better on your lower back to let your pelvis move a little bit, that's fine. But as you come back again, find that rotation, upper spine, middle spine, breathe into it for a couple breaths. Yeah, nice. Yeah, you got it. Slowly start to roll back to center using your abs. Yep. And again, top elbow, head, ribs start to spiral back. Lower back is staying pretty stable. So those low core muscles are in, and we're finding that movement in the upper spine. Right. Yeah. And then Daniela, feel the tailbone curl under just a little bit. Good, lovely. Back to center. Yeah, one more time. So just hold on this one. So once you rotate back, just hold. Doesn't matter if that top elbow is touching the ground or your shoulder is, right? Breathe into your middle and your upper back. Big inhale, big exhale. And feel that your breath now is helping to create some space. And then roll back to center. Nice. And then prop yourself up onto your bottom forearms. So same side. Top hand comes underneath the armpit. Yeah, and then just sink down a little bit so you don't really feel like much is going on. Now press into your bottom forearm, lift the ribs and feel that kind of this armpit area and rib area turned on. There's some muscular something going on. Shoulders out of the ear, stay here or lift the hips off the ground. Maybe take that top arm to the sky. Right? So now as your hips lift, if you think of your knees and your forearm pushing down a little bit, can you feel your bottom glutes turn on? So the bottom side of the hip. Rib line still in, lower waistline still on. And then maybe lift your top thigh, knee, and foot into the tension of the band. So now both sides of your glutes are on. We're still breathing, right? We're having fun. Breathe in, breathe in. Big inhales, big exhales. Both hips are working for 5, 4, eyes forward or down, 3, 2, everything rests down on 1. Press yourself up, flip sides. Just make sure you're on your opposite side, right? Bottom arm can be long. You can use a ball, whatever you did before. Feet in line with the back of your sit bones, back of your hips. Hips are stacked. Take the top hand to the hip and just let this top hip hike up a little bit to start and then reach it down. Find some length. Keep that length as your top thigh lifts up into the tension of the band if you're using one. Hold there. Take your top heel and push it down. And as that top heel pushes downward, see if you feel the back of the glutes connect. Inhale, lower that knee. Try not to lose the tension of the band. Rib line is in. Exhale, lift the thigh up. Find that moment of pause. Inhale, take it down slowly. Yeah. Yeah. Exhale to lift it up. Good. So keep going with this. Yep. Nice. Exhaling to lift, inhaling to lower. Yeah. And then this one, bring the knees forward just a little for me. Yeah, a little bit more. All right, perfect. You got it. Nice. Good. Nice, chill. Lovely. So again, working through the back side of the glutes. Yep. And there's that sense again, right? Top heel is pushing down. You're pivoting in your hip joint. Yep. Core is connected. Good. Last two. On the last one, hold that top knee up and then lift your foot. So your thigh, shin, foot about parallel to the ground, right? You feel some tension here. Keep your knee bent, push that leg backwards a little bit in space. And then exhale, rotate your thigh in. So the foot kicks up and then come back to center. Try not to lose the tension. Exhale, rotate the thigh in. Yep. And rotate back to center. Good. Keep going with this. Exhaling to rotate, inhaling to come back to center. And then hold there. So I'm just going to bring this leg back just a little and then rotate in from there. Yeah. And then back to center. Try not to bring it forward. And then rotate in again from there. Yeah. You feel that? Okay. So again, this internal rotation one, kind of weird, but it is going to balance out your hips. So it's a good one. Yeah, if it gets kind of crampy or starts to feel a little achy, just take a break, right? These muscles are like any other muscle. They just need some, time under tension to get used to it. Last one. And then let everything rest. And again, just kind of pad out side of the hips, side of the glutes. Yep. And then take that top leg long. So it's in line with the rest of the body. The foot's pointed, right? And then core is connected. We're going to reach that leg a little bit back in space. So the front of the hip opens, right? You're in the tension of the band if you're using it. And then exhale, that top leg is going to lift just a couple inches and it's going to drop back down about hip height. So it's lifting and lowering. And the peel back on this would be back to feet together, top knee opens. Yeah. Yeah, you got it. Just again, working into, right, abductors, so your abductors, side of the glutes. Yep, try to keep the core in, shoulder stacked, hips stacked. Yes. Couple more, and as that leg goes up, make sure the hip isn't hiking, but you're really finding that movement through the joint itself, right? The pelvis isn't lifting every time that leg lifts. Last two. Last one. Good, rest. Again, just pad out the side of that hip a little bit. Hands can come together behind the head. Hips are going to stay relatively stacked. And then the top elbow and the head, and then the ribs start to rotate back. So there's this nice spiral from your neck through your upper spine. I'm still keeping this connection to my core so my lower back doesn't overly extend because we want to try to find that movement in our upper spine. Now, once you're here, hold, breathe into it. And then see if you can feel your abdominals bringing you back. So obliques rotate you back to center. And again, top elbow, head, ribs start to roll you backwards. Keep breathing. And bring it back. One more time. Rotate back in space. Yeah. Hold on this one. So the next time you rotate back, yeah, just hold and breathe. And if you imagine the cylinder of your rib cage, try to breathe into the side of it, the front of it, the back of it, the top and the bottom. Notice if you're clenching your glutes at all, try to let your glutes relax now. Yep. And then on your next breath, rotate yourself back to center, prop yourself up onto your bottom forearm. Right, and if you sink down a little, right, nothing's really happening here. So we want to lift the ribs, push into the forearm, roll the shoulder out of the ear, and then maybe the hips lift and maybe that top arm lifts. All right, and I'm pushing my legs down into the ground. I'm pushing my forearm down. And then maybe the top thigh, knee, and foot lift. Now, if that leg goes up, just make sure the hips don't sink, but you maintain that height so both sides of your pelvis, both sides of the glutes are working, right? And your eyes can be forward, or maybe they look down to offload the neck. Just breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth for another 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Rest. Nicely done. Almost done with that band. We're going to come onto our forearms. So at this point, I'm going to put my band back on. You can always ditch it, right? So just honor how your hips feel, how your glutes feel. So we are going to be on our forearms. I'm putting my band back on. And the peel back on this is going to be coming up onto the hands. So my elbows are under my shoulders. My hands are together. Or if you want more shoulder work, more upper back work, hands apart. Knees fairly narrow, about hand distance, and they're right underneath the hips. Now push your forearms down into the ground, hug your inner elbows in, and then let your head relax a little bit so your neck is kind of angling down. Root into the left leg and then reach your right leg back behind you and up towards the sky and just hold there. So first just make sure, okay, this resistance feels okay. And use your left outer glutes, the ones we were just working, to help keep you from kind of sliding or falling left. Now, as you inhale, take that back leg, bend it down slowly. As you inhale, and then as you exhale, set your core, reach back and up. So glute and hamstrings. Inhale down slowly. All right, set the shoulders. Feel elbows pulling in, pushing down, and pulling towards your knees. And feel like that really, those low floating ribs are drawing up and in slightly. Yep. Yeah, and just every once in a while, just give the neck a little release. Yeah, let it hang a little heavy. There you go. Right, so the upper spine is kind of angling down, so you just want to make sure the neck is following that angle on this. And then you'll probably start to notice it's not just the moving leg that's working, right? That stabilizing leg and the glutes are working, yeah? Oh yeah. Now, if the shoulders or neck get tired, just come up onto the hands. Last two. Now, the next time you push back, hold. Reset your core. Now, just 5 little circles. I'm going to take this top leg. I'm going to bring it a little down, a little out to the side, up, in slightly, and back down. Same direction for 4. As this leg is moving, nothing else in the body gets to move. 3, glutes and hammies. 2, full circular motion in that hip joint. Last one. Find your center, reverse, out and down, in and up. Keep rooting into your standing leg. Inner thighs are working, glutes are working. Keep breathing. Last 2. Last 1. And then rest. Bend it down, take a child's pose. Maybe let your arms come behind you. A lot of glutes. Full breath. Nice, and then rise back up onto your forearms or your hands, whatever you chose. Elbows under shoulders, hands together or apart. My right leg is rooting down. My left leg starts to reach back and up. And the first one I'm just gonna hold, making sure hips are square. I'm not leaning into the right hip, but I feel that those outer glutes are on to keep me level. Inhale, take that leg down and in. Exhale, reach back and up. Down and in, right? Let the jaw relax. Back and up. Yep. Right, so now your core is working to stabilize your pelvis, your ribs, your lower back. All right, so then the hip gets to open as you reach back. The glutes get to turn on. Again, check in that the neck is staying pretty relaxed. Those inner elbows, they're hugging in. Your upper back is spread wide. Yep. Last 2. On the last one, reach back, hold. Fairly slow, 5 circles. You're going to go out, down, in, and up for 4, 3, 2, 1. Reverse. Make sure that hip isn't dropping. It's still level. 5, 4. Ribs are connected. 3, 2. Last one. Bend it in. Take a child's pose. Rest. Good job. All right. And then let's come up, ditch that band. We're done with this thing. Goodbye, band. Done. So we're using green here. Green's kind of in the middle, right? Blue is really heavy. Black is really, really heavy. And then yellow is kind of light. So just to kind of keep in mind what we're using. So we're going to come onto our stomach. All right, no props needed for this one. So your hands are just somewhere in front of your shoulders, elbows bent, shoulders are kind of relaxing forward. And if you give your hips a bit of a wiggle from side to side, find a place where your hip bones feel pretty even. Pubic bone heavy, lift your low tummy, and then keep your arms heavy. Just float your head and your chest up a couple inches and feel that the base of your breastbone is still on the ground. And there's a sense of your heart pulling forward, shoulders drawing down and in. So again, upper spine, middle spine getting some work. On your next breath, lower the head and the chest. Again, set your stomach. Inhale, peel the head up, peel the chest up, shoulders relax down. So we're just working that extension in the upper back. The lower back is still pretty stable. And then again, taking it back down. One more, knees relaxed, pubic bone heavy, head comes up, shoulders roll back, hold. Now, you don't have to lift your arms by any means, but just notice how much effort are your arms putting into this. And as you lift, think of your upper spine and your middle spine, those back extensors doing the work. So my arms, right, they're not really doing much. My abs are in, I have some support there. And then on your next exhale, think of lengthening your right leg out so much that it floats up a bit. And just make sure on that lift, it's not coming from the back arcing first, but the hip opens, the back of the glutes turn on. And then lower that leg. And the next, so the left leg reaches out so far, hip opens, glutes kick in and lower. And just keep alternating from side to side. And if you find this does put a good amount of pressure or tension in your lower back, you can always take hands under the forehead and just rest the head down. Or you can always come up to hands and knees. But again, it's the sense of our lower back, our rib cage staying really stable as we find this hip movement. One more to the left. Nice, and then lower everything down. Hands under the forehead, bend the knees, windshield wiper the feet from side to side. Just allow the pelvis and the legs to move with you. Couple deep breaths. And then bring the legs to the ground, turned out a little wider than your hips. And again, hands somewhere in front of your shoulders, elbows wide. Start in a place where your shoulders can fully relax forward. And as you inhale, start to bring the head up, shoulders react, they draw down and in, come up to the base of the breastbone, or see how high can you come up and then start to use your arms. So there's the sense of the fingertips reaching forward. And we come up into full extension, or full swan, we call this one. So the shoulders are easy. There's just a nice arc in the whole spine, and then slowly bring it down. Nice. Yeah, maybe the hands go a little more forward if you want to offload the back at all. Or if you want to advance, maybe your hands come a little closer towards you. Exactly. Yeah. And just easing into the shoulders at the top and just bringing it down. Nice. Yep, so a couple more like that. So on this one, hold at the top and take a couple breaths. And as you inhale, let your inhale expand your chest. Let that breath in actually create some more extension, right? And that will just naturally happen, right? Our inhale helps create extension, our exhale helps create flexion. On your next breath out, slowly start to roll down. Yeah, and then push back child's pose, feet together, knees open. And towards the end of the hour, notice if this feels any different. You can use your hands to kind of gently guide the hips down. And then rise up, hands and knees. Spread the fingers, set your shoulders round or widen rather your upper back and lift up through your core. Bring one leg at a time back into a plank. And we won't be here for real long, but just to kind of feel the full sense of the core working. So feel your feet are rooting down. And if you look at your toes, make sure they're pretty even. You're not rolled out or rolled in. Your upper back is wide. Arms have just a slight bend, so you feel your biceps and your triceps, inner elbows slightly forward. Pubic bone lifting, glutes on, thighs on. Take 2 more full breaths. Every exhale, feel your stomach pulling up away from your t-shirt a little bit. And then on your next breath out, start to walk your hands and feet together. Come into a forward fold and then just roll up to stand. Nicely done. So if you're on a thick mat, you can walk off of your mat if you want more help with your balance. If you want more challenge, stay on your mat or like your carpet or just a thicker surface. So all that side work we did, we want to kind of put it up into how does that all work standing, right? So feet are going to be hip distance. And if you find your inner hip bones, trace them towards kind of the inner center of the knee and down around towards your second toes. And then take the heel of your hand on your hips, spread your fingers kind of back to the side of your glutes, and then root into your left leg. And as you exhale, can you bend your right leg with minimal movement, right? There might be a little bit, right? Waistline still in, hips are still square. And do you feel that outer left glute kind of kick in a bit? Yeah, and then set your leg down and then opposite leg bends, right? There's gonna be a little movement, but it's not real dramatic. And do you feel those outer hip muscles, right? So switch again. And if you want more challenge, take that leg that's lifted, push it backwards a little bit in space, and then hinge into your standing hips. So my standing leg is a little bent. I'm gonna do just a small hinge forward. My ribs are in, my waistline's in, right? Back, core, side, front, everything working together. Push into that standing leg to bring you up. So there's your hip extension. And this is the same single hip movement that we did in our bridges in the very beginning of class. So there's that small hinge, waistline set, push through your leg, find your glutes and your hamstrings to bring you back. Yeah, just one more like that. And again, doesn't have to be very far. You could do this holding on to something, right? A counter, a chair, a wall. And then shake that out, switch sides. Right, everybody feel that? Cool. All right, so opposite side. So again, just kind of bringing right everything we did on our side and on our back to life standing. So again, whatever leg is bent, bring it backwards a little. Core in, micro bend the standing leg, and then hinge into your standing hip. Hips are square, push into that standing leg, glutes, hammies, all the rest bringing us back up. Again, core is in. Yeah. Yeah. Again, doesn't have to be the biggest lean in the world. Just find that you are moving from that one joint. Last one, hinging, breathe in. Bring it up, shake it out, arms, feet, and then feet about hip distance or so. And as you inhale, let the shoulders lift up into the ears. Exhale, roll them back and down and keep them drawing down a little bit. And then tilt your head to the left and reach your right arm down to a low diagonal. So you get a little bit of a stretch into the side of the neck, side of the shoulder. And then look down to the ground and let your chin pull in towards you slightly. And feel like the back of the skull is kind of reaching behind you. And then roll your chin forward, relax your arm, bring the head to center, tilt your head to the right, reach your left arm at a low diagonal. And then look to the right, drop your chin, feel the back of the neck and side of the neck stretching. And then roll the head forward, both arms relaxed, just circle the head a couple times. And just find a range that feels fairly comfortable. And reverse it. Bring your head to center, take a breath in. Exhale, nod your chin, roll down. A little bend in the knees as much as you need. Just bring it all the way down. Heavy in the head, heavy in the arms. Halfway lift, always okay if that feels better on your back. On your next breath, root into your feet. Start to roll up. So rooting through the legs, feeling the pelvis, core, ribs start to restack, shoulders. Head comes up last. We'll end closing the eyes. And then take one last deep breath in through your nose. And out through an open mouth. And we'll end you there. Thanks for joining.